Welcome to Coronavirus The Rundown. I'm Chris Stewart. We're here to show you how coronavirus is impacting communities across the country. We're also breaking down the rush of headlines. Today, a historic economic warning. The International Monetary Fund is warning coronavirus will bring the worst economic downturn since the Great Depression. It predicts this recession will be far worse than the one in 2008. The IMF says growth should rebound at least partly in 2021 if coronavirus fades by mid-2020 and if countries pass effective policies. There's a new test option in New Jersey that doesn't involve those long cotton swabs. The FDA granted emergency permission to use a saliva test from Rutgers University. This is expected to be significant because healthcare workers won't have to perform invasive tests on potential patients. Leaders are expected to strike a deal on another relief bill. This one would specifically help businesses, hospitals, and state governments. It could get through the Senate by next week. Now, the first round of stimulus money is out. Some Americans won't get a dime. Alicia Nieves is looking at which groups were not included in this relief bill.
50 to 70 million Americans should have their stimulus checks direct deposited in their bank accounts this week, according to the IRS. Another 50 million may have to wait as late as September to get a paper check. But for millions of others, a check from the second stimulus package is never coming.
One of the largest groups of individuals who are not eligible for a rebate are adult dependents. So anyone who is claimed as a dependent on a caregiver's tax return, who is of the age of 17 or over, is not eligible to either get a rebate themselves or to have their caregiver get a $500 rebate.
These are millions of college students now displaced as campuses around the country closed, or elderly and disabled dependents who rely on caregivers, explained Garrett Watson, a policy analyst with the Tax Foundation in Washington, D.C.
This is a pretty big population, both who may be seeing a pretty large adverse impact as a result of this economic downturn and public health crisis.
The CARES Act covers roughly 80% of adult Americans, but the 20% it left out included some vulnerable groups, like the adult dependents, but also those who earned more than $99,000 in 2019, but may have had a dramatic reduction in income or lost their jobs in 2020. Millions of tax-paying immigrants don't qualify. And parents with babies born in 2020 won't get the $500 dependent check for that child.
In those situations where a new qualifying child is in the picture this year and wasn't last year, that you have to wait for that additional $500 payment until next spring. That's probably a worst case scenario. There has been some speculation that potentially the IRS could allow for taxpayers to claim an additional dependent for this year and get that $500 advanced. We haven't seen any clarification or guidance from the IRS.
The good news for immigrants with an I-10 number and formerly high-income earners, they should be eligible for unemployment right now, especially with relaxed guidelines passed in the CARES Act. For parents with newborns and adult dependents,
I'm hopeful that if there is another round of rebates, that the adult dependent loophole or issue is resolved.
The Senate is expected to reconvene April 20th and begin discussions for another, now third, stimulus package. I'm Alicia Nieves reporting.
Alicia, thank you. Now, President Trump and some state leaders have their eyes set on the first week of May to reopen businesses and schools. Other leaders and doctors are saying that's not a realistic timeline.
I fear if we open up too early and we have not sufficiently made that health recovery and cracked the back of this virus, that we could be pouring gasoline on the fire, even inadvertently.
Leaders across the country have gone beyond the April 30th recommendation and have extended stay-at-home orders. Los Angeles currently has a stay-at-home order that goes until at least May 15th. But those at the University of Washington say many states haven't hit their peak yet. Arizona, Florida, Minnesota are expected to hit their worst points later this month. Experts say we need to tread carefully if we reopen too quickly.
We don't think the capability in the states exists yet to deal with that volume of cases. And so by July or August, we could be back in the same situation we are now.
Dr. Anthony Fauci, who's been advising the White House, says city and states will likely reopen at different times, really depending on the situation. It's likely unlikely everything will reopen at once. Now, Wuhan, China's lockdown lasted 76 days, but there are still some restrictions there. Some communities are only allowing one member of each household to leave the home. Travel restrictions will be lifted Wednesday to allow healthy people to leave and come into Wuhan. Now, new CDC data shows almost 90% of Americans are complying with stay-at-home orders. It says the compliance is helping limit the spread of coronavirus. According to the CDC, people in New York, Seattle, New Orleans, and San Francisco, those 4 cities have been following the orders particularly well. Well, you might feel stir-crazy right now, but many people are willing to wait before going out again. A Gallup poll found 8 in 10 people are willing to wait to resume their normal activities after restrictions are lifted. They'd rather see what happens to the virus before going back to work or school. 2 out of 10 people say they would immediately return to their routine. A husband and wife both got coronavirus, but they had very different experiences. And as Amanda Brandeis tells us, researchers are very eager to study the couple and figure out why.
We're very much hyper-local, high school football games, to Dodgers, to 4th graders reading book reports.
But now this small radio station north of Los Angeles is only covering one thing.
Join us as we pray for our valley and first responders. KHT.
We always dreamed of owning our own radio station, and so we made that happen in the early 90s.
Now Jerry Soretti Goldman and her husband Carl Goldman are providing 24-hour coronavirus coverage.
Stay safe, stay at home, and let's flatten the curve.
They know the virus well, feeling its wrath weeks before the crisis hit our country.
It was my 60th birthday, Christmas present.
But their Southeast Asia cruise ended in quarantine on the Diamond Princess, where hundreds of passengers became infected.
Once again, we have no idea what the heck is going on.
They both felt fine until the plane ride home when Carl woke up with a fever. He was sent to a Nebraska hospital for 29 days.
10 days in biocontainment and then in the lower level of care, and kept testing positive. It stayed with me.
I was negative the whole time.
It's totally weird. I don't know how she didn't get it.
Jerry was not only exposed to the virus by her husband, but several others, while on a bus for 6 hours and then the 10-hour flight home. She quarantined for 2 weeks and continued to test negative.
You know, what was it that kept her from getting it?
Researchers are asking the same question.
We've had people from all over the world want to test my blood.
They'll look for antibodies to see if she actually had the virus at some point but never showed symptoms. If she never had it, they'll study other factors to try and figure out why it appears she can't contract the virus.
You know, does it have to do with the O positive blood? Does it have to do with my lifestyle?
We thought that was going to get spread.
Carl is also helping researchers, donating platelets, which could help people fighting the virus.
All the reports are showing that I can't pick up the virus again for many, many, many months.
Rather than dwell on the unknowns, Carl's focusing on what he can control, helping his community and keeping a positive outlook.
Each time I pick up the dog poop now, I do it with a smile and a whole new appreciation.
He believes we'll all come out of this having learned important lessons.
Hopefully we come out better.
Reporting in Santa Clarita, California, I'm Amanda Brandeis.
Amanda, thank you. Now, health insurance costs could go up next year unless the industry gets financial help. Company executives are lobbying Congress. We're going to take a look at just how high premiums could go. And plane tickets, they are cheap right now. Summer is close. So is it okay to book a trip?
I would be very hesitant, though, to book something at this moment.
Experts explain the best way to book during these uncertain times. Federal agents just broke up a major international face mask scam. The FBI says 2 foreign entities tried to trick American healthcare companies into buying 39 million N95 masks, and that it says it probably didn't exist. Agents say one group demanded 40% payment up front. Now, there's a task force working to stop the hoarding of critical equipment that knew something was up after a healthcare union said that it found tens of millions of these much-needed masks. The good news, nobody sent any money before the federal agents stepped in, and now there are 2 brokers in Australia and Kuwait and they are under federal investigation. Now, coronavirus is affecting people in unique ways. Our partners at Newsy asked a grocery store owner how life has changed.
My name is Burnell Coughlin. I'm the owner of the first and only grocery store in the Lower Ninth Ward since Hurricane Katrina. And people come from all over to go shopping here. Wesley Snipes, Vincent from the Wu-Tang Clan. This Latoya Cantrell, the first female mayor of New Orleans. To see what we're going through now with this corona thing, it's like Hurricane Katrina all over again, except it's 10 times worse because it's like an invisible monster. It hurts because right now there's no money being made. A lot of my customers work either at a hotel or the seafood industry, and because they can't work, they can't pay their bills. This hit us the hardest, and it makes everybody nervous. They come through the door, and this is why I tell everybody to be careful and to be safe. Because if it is hitting black people the hardest, I beg them to hurry and come out with a cure and release it. So people need to have a normal life. I just want to see people have money coming in so they can take care of their family. They can take care of our bills instead of coming to my store crying, which I don't mind, but it hurts. It hurts them because they have to come to the store and beg for milk to feed their family because they don't have the money. Some advice that I could give to others since I'm living this here, to stay strong. Think about the worstest thing that you've been through. Whatever it is, whatever that may be, you made it through it because you went through it. The worstest thing that ever happened to us was Hurricane Katrina, and we're still feeling the effects today. But I tell everybody, if you can go through any adversities in your life and you make it through on the other side, you can come through this here, and you're going to be all right. Be healthy, and we're going to make it. We're going to be okay.
Now, plane tickets are pretty cheap right now. The prices may be tempting, but is it a good idea to book right now? Well, even if it's for later in the year. Travel experts say yes, but you want to tread carefully. Scott Mayerowitz at The Points Guy says booking anything comes with a risk, so make sure before you make these plans that you check the cancellation policy and the fees that come with it. Right now, airlines are pretty flexible.
So you could buy Christmas vacation tickets right now, and for some reason you have to cancel. The airlines are waiving many of their normal change fees. Fees that are $150, $200 per ticket normally.
The catch is, if you decide to cancel, you won't be able to get cash back. You'll likely get that money back in the form of a voucher that's valid 12 to 18 months on that airline only. If there's anything you're gambling in this situation, it's flexibility. Now, cruises tend to be a more affordable way to travel and may also be appealing at this time. In this case, our travel experts suggest holding off on making reservations.
We're not sure which cruise lines will be able to sail, which destinations they'll be able to get to. Remember, a lot of governments are probably going to be hesitant to open up their borders, particularly to a 4,000, 5,000, or 6,000 person ship.
Now, if you can get away with it, he says wait to book a cruise until about a week or two out. If you can do that, the savings could end up being in the hundreds of dollars. And finally, be careful about booking hotels because not all of them give refunds. Now, you might be seeing more people wearing rubber gloves right now. Levi Ismail asked the experts if that really helps.
At the time, it seemed like an easy question. Do you wear gloves out of the house?
Not in town, but when in the grocery store.
Then the more I asked, the more I realized saying no could make some feel like they did something wrong.
I keep my distance, but the mask and the gloves and some may call me stupid, but ignorance is bliss sometimes.
I think it's overblown a little bit at this point, but I mean, if that's what makes you feel comfortable, then I think it's okay.
But what do the experts think?
So when you go to the grocery store, are you wearing gloves?
I do not wear gloves at the grocery store.
Dr. David Aronoff is a specialist on infectious diseases and says you should really think of gloves like your own hands.
The only thing that gloves are really doing is creating another opportunity for us to contaminate our hands.
Here's Michigan nurse Molly Lixie to demonstrate.
I just keep touching everything. Oh, my nose itches here. Let me itch my nose. Okay, now my phone's ringing. It's my mom.
In this particular case, gloves may, if anything, make hand hygiene a little bit worse.
Now, while we can't contract COVID-19 through touch, what we can do is carry it with us on our hands. The more we touch, the more we contaminate, like that phone from earlier.
Oh, hello. Look, this is called cross-contamination.
We understand you want to take every precaution you can, but sometimes the little things can go a long way.
Every single act of staying apart actually makes a big difference, and I hope that your viewers understand the important role that each one plays in slowing this pandemic down.
All right, Levi, thank you. Now, coronavirus is forcing people to rethink what their special events look like, and that includes weddings. How one couple improvised to make their special day memorable.
Indie home experts at theindychannel.com.
Welcome back. As people delay once-in-a-lifetime events, a California couple decided they were going to delay their wedding, so they improvised.
The 4th had become a date that meant something to us, and we didn't really want to wait a whole nother year to get married.
Our friends and family were really excited about it. I think it kind of gave them a sense of normalcy just for a second. They could get dressed up.
Special delivery from Mel and Ben.
Oh,
wait, what is
amazing.
What is it? Raspberry ricotta breakfast cake. Yum.
The moment we woke up, that it did feel like this is our wedding day and we're about to have a wedding.
And then we're going to roll up.
There's this company, Nioxin, that set me up with a virtual hairstylist for free. Obviously, I did my own hair and makeup.
We're going to hold it just for a couple of seconds.
One of my best girlfriends, Brina, sent me a bouquet of flowers to be my sort of bridal bouquet.
Oh my goodness.
It's real.
Can everybody hear us? Can you give us a thumbs up if you can hear us okay? Yay! This is so fun!
And this is going to be just a really great preview of all the fun that we're going to have next March in Palm Springs. Oh my God, it's so amazing to see you all here in one place.
On behalf of Ashley and Tim, I'd like to welcome you all here today. There's something really special to me in stripping this moment of all the glitz and glam that we had planned to just what matters most.
You really mean everything to me. There's no one in the world whose opinion and perspective I value more, who I laugh with more, who I'm more proud of than you. There's no one else whom I'd rather begin and end every day and shelter in place with for months on end. I love you.
Thank you.
Welcome.
By the power vested in me by the state of California and the internet, thanks internet, Jessica and I now pronounce you husband and wife. You may now kiss the bride. Yay! Love you. See you in March 2021.
Hey, the show must go on. Great stuff there. Now, there's a business owner that is paying workers to do good deeds for others. We're going to show you how those employees are now making a difference.
WRTV.org.
Welcome back. I'm Chris Stewart. We end the rundown every day with stories to remind you of the good that is going on. Today, it's an Ohio company challenging employees to do a good deed and paying for it. Steve Feed owns New Innovations that supplies the medical industry with internet and software. And he got the idea for this good deed challenge while buying groceries for his church and some neighbors.
It feels wonderful giving. It's not the receiving, it's the giving of things. And how I felt and my family felt personally, I would like other people to feel that.
One worker made medical shields for a hospital. Another bought groceries and water for at-risk people. And others are just donating the money to food banks. Some employees refusing to take the $50. Instead, they're donating that money and then matching it with $50 of their own. And that's all the time we have today for Coronavirus The Rundown. We'll see you next time. I'm Chris Stewart. Thanks for joining us.